Hey, Bear Academy, start your UX design career here. There is one basic question for all the people who want to learn UX and UI, which is the definition of these two concepts. What is UX and what is UI? In this video, I want to talk about these two things in a few minutes and hope it will be helpful for you to make your career decision. So if you want to know what is the UX and UI, just by checking their definition, UI means user interface. Everything relevant to visual and all the experience that you will see, that is UI. That's a really simple definition. And UX regards to user experience. It means something behind those visual stuff and what's the logic behind it and what's the flow. So probably would be good to take an actual example. We can look. So here is my website, Bear Academy. And if you look at the home page, you will see the hero image at the top, menu, and with different options, and also with a button, and then different sections below. So those are the things relevant to UI. So it's all the things about visual, for example, typography, colors, the font size, and other styles. So if you are a UI designer, you need to define those things in detail. So the engineers will be able to work with your deliverables. And if you are UX designer, what you need to decide is how customer will find your website. Like, where did they get the starting point? And what could be the general experience when they're browsing your website, and after they consume some content, what could be the next action, and what is the your call to action you hope customer will go. So for example, if they tap a button, what will happen and why they want to tap that button. So those are the things you need to decide, that experience behind it, like a holistic experience. And that part of the UX designer's job to define those things. And yeah, that's an example. And speaking of the tools for these two roles, for UI designer, there are more UI design tools, relevant tools such as Figma, or in the old days, Sketch, or even Photoshop. And those are the tools for UI designers to use. And if you want to implement some interactions, you might want to create some animations or GIFs. So GIFs. So that will involve, for example, Adobe After Effects or other tools. And for UX designer, those tools are more general. Like if you want to do research, you probably will use Miro, FigJam for affinity mapping or the ideas and findings, and you might use some research survey tools such as SurveyMonkey or Qualtrics to organize some surveys. Or even you want to interview your customers, your users, you're using Zoom or Google Meet for reaching out to people and talk to them. And after that, you probably will use Figma to create a wireframe or prototype and test your design with customers for feedback. Yeah, so those are the tools. And speaking of the ways of work, it's also a little bit different. UI designers are more relevant to visual. So anything relevant to visual, such as the proximity, balance of the element, alignment, those are the things relevant to graphic design. It still makes sense for UI design. But for UX designers, things like how you're able to validate a concept and test it and then improve it by different iterations. It's more relevant to design thinking method or double diamond method, which we could discuss in later videos for that. So yeah, that's all the things relevant to the ways of work. And for the skills, it's also, you already know that for UI designer, more relevant to graphic design, and for UX design, it's more relevant to research, understanding business, and the logic behind the user flows. So things like that. And there are also relevant domains, which means that if you work as a job before, working your job, there might be some connections that you can build from your previous job to the new job. And if you are doing some creative work, such as video editor, web designer, or graphic designer, or even you think you are a natural born artist, so that could be a quite fit that you can start to do some UI design stuff, and UI designer could be your thing. And if you have relevant experience in research, psychology, or human behaviors, or marketing, or education, so those are the things, those are the soft skills. And if you have soft skills like people skills, that also quite like useful for a UX designer role. So if you have those experience, that you might get some advantages if you go to the UX designer role. Hope it makes sense. And if you want to know more, please stay tuned for more videos upcoming. I'm Bear, and this is Bear Academy. I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.